Hello everyone. Okay, I just want to 2 seconds there, just sorting out the audio here. Yep, I was just making sure that everyone could hear us loud and clear here. So first of all, I'd like to thank everyone for taking their time to more or less commence this webinar series where myself and Jonathan will be going through the three main stages of project delivery. So what we've broken this webinar into is early design stage, and so we're going to break it into early design stage, which this webinar will focus on, is where the strategic definition will be addressed, where we get the preparation and brief and the concept design. What the software we will be using will be available in the AEC collection, which what most of you probably have or you're kind of investigating about, but we'll also dabble into the BIM 360 interface where we can show you where you can more or less collaborate and demonstrate to your clients or to even local county councils how the design is progressing, and they can comment accordingly on the design. So the next webinar is on the 28th of February, where we'll start developing the detailed design, and then we'll move along to the construction phase, where we'll start doing data capture, and there'll be COBie handover, and we will start embedding information into the model too. So we're going to start progressing the model throughout the phases of this, and this is actually on a live project that is currently being constructed. So we're we said we'd work on a live project to actually show the benefits of the applications. So what we're going to start off on this is with a live demo on the Formit, where we'll start to geolocate the site, to start running on energy analysis along with solar analysis, shadow analysis, and then we'll start working on collaboration. That will showcase then into Infraworks, where we will be able to go through how you can demonstrate to your client where the actual building is in reference to local roads and also local buildings. And then we start progressing. So it's more of a progression here towards the latter end. Then we work on Revit, where we'll start working on bits of Dynamo, working on master walls workflow, and then start incorporating stuff into Infraworks. And then finally we'll be able to upload it into BIM 360 docs, where the client will have just access to that, and they can start more or less marking up and commenting and be able to view the 3D model and all the elements to that. So this is just a kind of a pretty well-known image where it kind of demonstrates that BIM is what the big word at the moment, where it kind of demonstrates that everything is design, build and operate. It's all focused around the building, where all the data is captured, everything is focused around the connected BIM interface. Another famous chart here is the McLeamy curve. So Jonathan will just more explain this.
Yeah, so the McLeamy curve, fairly well known in the US, but I've also seen it in UK and Ireland as well being used. But just it demonstrates how in traditional construction processes or design processes, that the earlier stage that you make a design change, it's less cost. But as a project moves along into detailed design stage, when you're looking at drawings that have more information on them, you've got specification documents, all of that has to be updated as well for any changes that occur. But within a BIM process, because it's a lot more of a connected process, you're able to impact the change, I suppose, at a more efficient rate throughout the process. So if guys are on site, you'll have foreseen certain issues in a BIM process, so using things like clash detection, which we'll cover in further webinars, but using clash detection and being able to foresee things like that will minimise loss of labour costs and material costs on site by having to undo work as well.
Yeah, and the focus on this webinar is through the pre-design and design stage. So it's where we have high ability and effect on the project, so we can more or less manage the costs. So we kind of focus on that, and it'll transition in towards the end of the webinar series. As I mentioned previously, we're going to be showcasing what is available on the AEC collection, and also with the BIM 360 interface, showing what can be used out of that cloud solution. So I don't know if you're aware of the AEC collection. This is the available software at present on the AEC collection, and we will be, throughout the course of the 3 webinars, we'll be moving in and out of all these platforms. And also this is the BIM 360 docs and docs design, glue, build field. There's a few more modules being released, but this at present is what is available. So just quick before we start doing the live demos, is the benefits of BIM is to win more work, deliver higher quality designs, work more efficiently, and just to more expand billable services to clients, and also give clients more certainty and confidence in your the projects that they're investing in. So we just kind of work through the Dynamo and, or sorry, Formit Pro into Revit. We're going to be using Revit 2019 here just to showcase what is available there. So I'll just exit here, and I'll make...
So Sean is just going to share his, or allow me to share my screen, and I'm just going to run through, I suppose, the features of Formit and Formit Pro, and just to show you how you might get a project started in it. Perfect. So just to outline what Formit is. So Formit is, there's an online version available, but the Pro version is available within the AEC collection. So if anybody does have AEC collections, you already have access to the Pro version. So essentially Formit Pro is a conceptual modeling tool, so you're able to create massing similar to sketching in other packages, but you're able to do this and you're able to import it into Revit as well, which is one of the biggest benefits, that you're not losing work that has already been created. It's not a 3D model that gets forgotten about in a folder somewhere, you know, as the project progresses. You're able to reuse this information and re-import it into Revit as well, and you're able to convert it into intelligent objects, which will also run through towards the end of the webinar after Sean runs through some things as well. So Formit Pro is also available on iPads as well, so you can use it to sketch on iPads. It uses hand motion and finger motion, but you can also use like a pen stylus, which you can see in the middle of the screen. And furthermore, it does integrate with Dynamo as well, if that's what you want to use it for. And obviously the Pro version is a desktop version, whereas the standard version is just an online within a browser. There's also real-time collaboration, some energy analysis, which I will caveat to say is good at an early stage of a project, just to indicate conceptually where you might place certain ratios of glazing or certain where you might put your solar panels and things like that as well, the best location for them. So I'm just going to run through some of the kind of workflow in how you might get to a finished project. So I suppose what we are working towards today is looking at producing drawings, starting a Formit and moving into Revit, producing sort of a conceptual design, and you know, you can add more detail to this if you want. So keeping a fairly basic and kind of sketchy looking, so quite a good presentation at the end of it as well, hopefully, and just basic floor plans and some elevations as well that you'll be able to create at the end of an early design stage of a project. So within Formit Pro, I've modeled up this site essentially, just placed some simple massing, and I've geolocated it using a Google map as well. You can also see the north point there is moving as I rotate. So as this site has been geolocated, it knows where it is. So for shadow and solar analysis, that's quite relevant. So I'm just going to, you can see as I move around this, you're able to navigate your model and get a sense of the massing or volume of a building on a site, particularly from an architectural point of view, you know, or even being able to show this to potential clients or stakeholders within a particular project. So I'm just going to open up a blank project here using Formit Pro. I'll close that one for now. So it's a fairly intuitive user interface. You've got a 3D environment you're able to rotate. And you've got a 2D top plan view that you can model in, and you've got a series of line tools, curves and rectangles and stuff like that. I probably work most with the line tool and the rectangle, but the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to geolocate my site to where it is actually located. So I'm just going to go to the little location mark at the top. I'm going to type in where my site is. So I know it's in Kilmallock, it's not in Kilimanjaro. There we are, County Limerick. And that's going to bring me to that within a Google map within there. So I know where my site is located, so I can zoom in on this as well. And you can search by address or area code, the same way Google Maps works as well. So I know my site is roughly located within this grey area here. You can see they've actually started to dig some trenches there already. So I'm going to import satellite image. Just going to zoom back to that. And you can zoom in as much or as little as you want. So I kind of want to get some of the site context in as well, the river and the road around there as well, just to have an idea of what I'm modeling on. So that brings that in there. And because this is geolocated, as I said already, it brings in local weather information and local solar information as well. So you're able to calculate early stage solar radiation on your facade and roof. So if you need to reduce or increase glazing ratios, for example, you're able to see that at an early stage. So I'm just going to go to my top view and I'm just going to start placing some lines. And I just want to create a basic mass that I can import into Revit at a later stage. So I know my building is roughly 70 meters as far as I know. It's about 12 meters wide, and you can change all these dimensions afterwards. So I'm just going to keep it a nice simple rectangle. So you can see that's created a closed solid. So that's a completely flat piece of geometry. But now I want to put a height onto that. So I'm just going to click on my surface and I just want to extrude that, and you can see the height comes up in the far corner. So I know it's about 10.5 meters. So that gives you a simple box, gives you an idea of what it looks like on the site. And you can also start to manipulate that geometry in a different way as well. So you can, maybe you want to put a mono pitch on the roof and pull it down on one side. You're able to do that as well. But you can also do further things on this. So I could go and model the rear building if I wanted to see the shadow analysis, which I'll show in a later model. But for now, I'm just going to show you how the solar analysis works. So up here, you've got your little sun symbol. You can click into that. I'm just going to click on shadows, and you can change what time of the year it is, of the 2019, middle of June. I want to see what it looks like at the shadow, and you can see it's casting a shadow here in the bottom left. But as I move that across, you can slide that and the shadow is going to, you can see it impacts the building at the back as it gets a bit later in the year at that particular time of day. And you can take screenshots or export these as still images as well if you want, and you can add more detail into it as well. Now there are other options within Formit, so you're also able to import Revit families. So within Revit, you can export all of your families that you want to use in this, and then you can just link them into a folder within your content library. So you can bring in tree objects, site objects, bins, and cars and stuff like that, if that's the level of detail you want to go to. But just for today, I just want to show this. I just want to show this as an early conceptual mass, essentially. So you can start modeling that up, add some detail, see what the impact of the shadow analysis is. I'm just going to brighten that up now, change the time of the year. You can see the shadow changes, and I want to do some solar analysis. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to select my building here. I'm actually going to create this as a group. If you right click after selecting something, it gives you a series of options, and one of them is to be able to create a group. So I'm just going to create a group, and that just allows me to move that mass in if I want to move it in one piece of object. So I'm just going to go back into my solar analysis down here in the bottom blue button. And just when I click on that, on the left, a small dialog comes up, fairly basic. And it just allows you to analyze what your solar radiation on a particular facade might be. So I'm just going to pick year cumulative. I'm just going to hit analyze. And you can see it pulls up in, fairly color coded. So you can imagine if you had a lot of intricate elements to your model, that it would obviously pick them up in different directions and different shading directions. So on the back, obviously north facing facade gets minimal amount of sun. So you know that you can either maximize your glazing on that side, you don't need any shading on that side, or you can even make your glazing smaller as well to capture more solar heat within the building. And then obviously on the front of the building, the south-facing facade, you can see over a year that the solar gains are 700 kilowatt hours per square meter. So that can help you calculate your air conditioning rates as well, if that's what you want to do. And then you can do it per month as well. So you want to pick June, but you might want to pick November for, a colder month of the year as well, to be able to see what impact that might be. And you can see, obviously on the roof, if you have solar panels, you're going to get fairly minimal impact of sun on your roof there within December as well. and obviously you can go back to your cumulative if that's what you want to do. And again, you can export this as still images to be able to show at an early stage to a stakeholder or a client how the building might be impacted, just at a massing stage, to be able to see that. What you can further do in this is energy analysis, as I mentioned at the start, and that's what I'm just going to jump into now. So using something called Autodesk Insight, which is also part of the AEC collection as well. So up here in energy analysis, you just select your building, go to Generate Insight. Now I have one I've prepared yesterday, and this will give you an early stage energy analysis of what your building might perform like. So I have the model open here. So once you log into Autodesk Insight using your Autodesk ID, you're able to access your model. So that has uploaded this into this user interface. I'm able to access that model, and you can see it gives me a series of numbers here on the left. But under the Settings tab, you're able to change, for example, your utility rates. So yesterday I looked up the kind of standard fixed electric rate in Ireland for euros per kilowatt hours, and gas rates per cubic meters as well. So you can apply that, take in the national rate or the national average, and you can get your model to interpret that. And again, I will say just to use this at an early stage, that it can help inform you. So it brings up a kind of a 3D model view, and it automatically gives you a 40% glazing ratio by default, and it gives you some calculations for that. So you might go into something like your southern walls, and it will tell you the impact if you increase your glazing ratio, for example, down to from 95% on your southern walls. You can see the impact of that cost per euro per square meter per year. So it's worth having a look that you could maybe put this at an early stage feasibility study or presentation that you can potentially show your clients as well. So I'm just going to jump back into Formit, and just to kind of show you a couple more settings as well. So you can also apply levels to this model, and the purpose of applying the levels, you don't have to. The reason I use them is purely because within Revit, Formit will export your levels into Revit, so it saves you having to recreate them. So you just select your block, hit use levels, and you can see that's applied those levels. So when I import that now into Revit, that will automatically set up my levels within Revit as well. There's also a number of different materials that you can choose as well. There's a full material library. You can create your own materials from scratch if you want, import images. That's what you want to go to. But you can also use the pre-installed library of materials as well. And there's quite a lot, internal timber and stuff like that. And there's external masonry as well if you want to apply a brick, for example. But there's also roofing materials as well. And as I said, you can export these as still images. Another handy thing is certain different visual styles. So I'm just going to click off that. You can add in sketchy lines as well. So add in some ambient shadows, which can be nice. I'm just going to change my kind of edge style around here a bit. You can put in sketchy edges, extended edges, which some people like. You can see it comes over, kind of looks nice and sketchy. And then you're able to even add in your north arrow as well, which is an accurate north arrow as well. And as I move, that moves as well. And you can export this as a still image as well. And there's a couple of different options there to navigate that as well. And then if you are to use Dynamo, you can use scripts within here, and you can use this to manipulate certain types of geometry to be able to change thicknesses and heights as well, if that's what you want to do. You can also create something called scenes. So if I create a scene, then rotate around, add another scene, and you can set different settings to this as well. So I'm going to add another scene there, zoom out, place another scene there, and it just allows you to create almost a video. So I'm just going to go back to this, click play, and it will jump through each video, or jump from each scene to each scene, just rotating. So it can help for early stage presentations that you're able to show this to a client or potential planners possibly. So I'm just going to come out of that. Another good feature within the Pro version is the collaboration option. So if I was to click collaboration, start collaboration session, it gives me an option to share a link, so I can email this link to anybody anywhere in the country or anywhere in the world, and once they click on this link, they will automatically be brought up on this screen, and they will see exactly what I'm seeing. So if I start modeling in real time, it will start to come up on their screen in real time as well. And then they're able to, so ideally you might do this over a conference call, but you can also do it over some sort of text chat as well. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to export and save this file, and then I'm going to hand over to Sean, and then I'll come back to importing this model into Revit in a few minutes. So I'm just going to click save. You can save it locally, or you can use A360 Drive if you want. And sorry, just to add, you can also import a lot of different file types into this. So OBJ files, but you can also bring in SketchUp files and DWGs as well. So it's not only the native format as well. And then I can also export as well using a lot of different formats as well. But for this instance, I'm going to use the AXM format because I'm going to bring it directly into Revit in a few minutes. Okay, thank you very much, Sean.
So to switch over there. So go to, I can relinquish there again. Sorry. Center. Yeah. So yeah, perfect. So thanks very much, Jonathan. What I'm going to show now here is where we can start using the likes of Autodesk Infraworks. So Infraworks is just another solution available on the AEC collection. So what it is that once you start up the application, you can go to Model Builder. I said I'm not connected to the internet. 2 seconds there. Hopefully that won't. Yeah, back again. Sorry, there, back again. Seconds. It's not there, so it's just saying there's a connection there. But all it is you when you open up the interface, you can same was what Jonathan discussed there with the Google Maps. You select an area and you can more or less draw a rectangle around it and see exactly what is available. And then what that will do is it will generate a 3D model of that area. This then can be, you can import in your 3D model. So that box here is what Jonathan had created and exported off at the using the Formit Pro, and we were able to import this into the interface. With this, you can start more or less seeing how it resides in the local context of the building, of the vicinity. You can, similar to Formit, you can create more roads. So if there needed to be a road connecting from this area here, it's simple enough just to click on your road, say draw a component road, and if it's going to cross here, you just draw it, and it's connecting in here. What that will do is it will create a road, and it sees then where it's crossing particular areas. I can create a bridge across here, similar to what I've created here. So that this is just a footway that had a bridge, and you can navigate around there. It's very easy to change the road once it's selected. You just select it, change the styles, and it updates it accordingly. It also can change the different widths of the road, the slopes, everything as part of that road. It's a simple then delete then if it and it reverts it back to the original view. This is a pretty good example of how you can more or less explain to the client your conceptual design and how it affects local buildings. So I can relocate that model if the client doesn't want it to be there. You can move it. It can be rotated. You can extend the height of it or scale. So at least you're getting a good idea of its location within the townlands. This could be something that could be pushed towards local, the county councils. Could be a way to kind of supplement planning applications to show exactly how the proposal is going to work within their local communities. So make sure that this also has a way that if I click sync, it will sync it up onto the BIM 360 platform, which is where you can just have the architect, or sorry, the client can have just visibility on that. He does not have to have the likes of Infraworks viewer in order to be able to view the model. It's all available and viewable on the BIM 360 interface. Let's see. There's against on that. Trying to create. You can with this here. You can, as I said there, you can add more roads. You can edit the terrain. You can do traffic simulation. There's a sun and sky setting as well, where you can actually see how at what time of the day that the shadows will be cast across the buildings. It has a site distance calculator. There's a profile view. So if I select a particular road, so you know it's this one, it will give me a profile view of that road. So you can actually see, and by editing it in the profile section here, it will edit it in real time on the road itself. There's, if, say for example, this road here, you wanted to see what capacity it has. So I just move it here. It's telling you I need to convert this to a component road. So you can see here now that this is, so if I edit it here, it in turn will edit it in the view here. And you can see all the elevations and changes of this road as it's progressing. This road can be changed to, if it's a function local artillery collector road, it can be edited, the width can be changed, and you can also give it a name, but this is all form part of the conceptual view. If we make a mistake, it's simply just Control Z, and this is all residing above in the cloud. Also, you can start, similar to Formit, you can start bringing in the likes of cars. Let's see, you can put in ponds. Let's see if I can import in. You can import in different models as well. So if you have a model of another building here, that can be all brought in and seen how it works with regards there. There's there's watermarks. Storyboard is like you can create a video and it'll play a storyboard of your presentation to the likes of any panel that you're presenting to. And then you can export it out to different platforms. This thing will also import in a civil 3D model. So if you have a civil 3D drainage plan of the local industrial estate here, you'll know exactly from viewing here what area you need to tap into. And also, if you edit a particular road, you know that if I rise this, it's going to have an effect on the existing drainage. So there's stuff like that. So this thing then, once I click sync, it'll update it into the BIM 360 platform. So I'll just go here. Sorry there. So this is a viewable platform where the model, so anytime I click sync in Infraworks, it'll update the files here and then say I'm taking on the role of the client here to view it. It's just more, he opens up the file, he has the concept view, he has the master view. He can start similar, so this is the master view, this is before there are any changes ever made. It's a bit dark there, but I can update that up. Yeah. And then what is then, you just go to the concept view, this is what the proposal is. You can see where the site is. There can be a first person walk, but I can go through that there in a while. If I zoom anywhere, I can view around and actually walk through the proposal. That's the building there, and it'll start to develop as the whole as the design is progressing. There's also ways that the client can address markups. So you can see here that the site where the site is located, and then there's also ones like can the access road be reviewed? There's also if he wanted to raise issues against certain areas of it. It's just more issue here. I'm working on behalf of the client, create the issue. This is a design. To place an issue, say, on the building itself. It's observation, of just a general observation. You can have it as a building location. And you can start assigning it then to people. So you can assign it to the civil engineer, say that they have, this can be done before the next meeting, and then give a description. Can the building be orientated, say 20 degrees? Just go create, and that will create a pin on the actual model, and then anyone who's on that project with a civil engineer role will get that notification. So that's ways of relaying information back to the individual users on the project. That issue then will hopefully reside here under the issues folder. We can go through that later on anyway, as I'll come back to this at the end of the webinar just to show how you can submit a file for approval, and the client can review it, make comments on it, and there's traceability back on that. So well, I just transfer you back onto to Jonathan there so he can show more on the Revit side.
Brilliant. So I'm just going to run through, once Sean shares the screen with me, or allows me to share my screen, I'm just going to run through taking that Formit model and potentially what Sean has created in Infraworks as well. You can also integrate that with your Formit model into Revit and start to build up an early stage design and start placing it on sheets. So I'm just going to show you some of the workflows to be able to get to that point as well. But I'm also going to show you just a brief insight into something Dynamo might be able to help you with for a project setup as well.
So I
can share my screen from here.
Can you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, work away there. It's just the internet here for me is
sent a request here.
Right. Just yeah.
Sorry, we're just trying to share our screen here.
Yeah. It won't let me change that to 2 seconds there. Yes. Yep.
There we are. Perfect. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, I'm just going to give you just a brief insight into what Dynamo is. I'm just going to show you one practical use of it just to get you thinking about it and how it might help you practically to set up a project setup. So Dynamo is visual programming, and it comes installed and it's completely open source. It's not Autodesk necessarily. It's completely open source, and you'll find it on GitHub and stuff like that. But it does come pre-installed with Revit. So as I said, it's open source graphical programming and it allows you to manipulate your Revit geometry in different ways. So I'm just going to jump in, and just before I import that Formit model, I'm just going to show you an example script. So here I have a new Revit file, and you can see my floor plans on the left hand side. I just have 3 standard floor plans. I've just named this one for my script. But I also have an Excel file here. So this Excel file could be potentially something that you'll have started before a project is created. And just for the purpose of this, I'm just going to recreate the levels and the floor plans that we want to create for this project. So within our floor plan, so we know what we want to name our floor plan, so PLN_01, but obviously you can change this to suit your BIM level 2 standards as well. And we know what levels that we want them to be on as well. And also reflected ceiling plans, we know the name of those files that we've created. So what we're looking at here is that essentially in Excel you'll put down all of this information before your project starts, and then you'll open up a new either your company wide Revit template, and you've no floor plans started in there yet. But if you open Dynamo with this particular script, so here's the particular script here, I won't go into it in detail, but if I select my path, I'm going to link that to my Excel file. It's already done there. I'm just going to close my Excel file, and I'm just going to run that. Sorry, I'm just going to have to step back. I just have to I'm just going to reopen it here because it doesn't like if you've undone things. So I'm just going to open up my script within Dynamo, and again, Dynamo is available up in your Manage tab within Revit. So I'm just going to link into my browse file path, link to my Excel file where all my floor levels are named. I'm just going to click Run, and if you watch the floor plans on the left hand side, hopefully this works. It did 5 minutes ago. Just going to click Run, and you can see on the left hand side all of those floor plans have been created for me already, so it saves you having to create all of those individually, and ceiling plans as well. Now I don't have the sheets automated in this, but you can do things like create the sheets as well that are relative or relate back to those floor plans that you've already created. And you can see if I link into one of these or double click into one of these floor plans, they're all separate floor plans, and they're all based at separate levels as well. So that's just using a bit of Dynamo just to give you a practical example. So I'm going to jump into showing you how you might get your Formit model into Revit as well, and how you might get it detailed up, just to add some kind of early stage detail to it, to get it a bit more presentable to use at an early design stage of a project. Place some trees and just kind of have it conceptual looking building in your on your drawing sheets using Revit. So I'm just going to close my previous files. I'm just going to open up my Formit site. I'm just going to open up a level 0. So I'm going to import my mass into here. So under my add-ins tab, there's a Formit plugin. So sometimes you might have to install this plugin as well from the Autodesk website. But once you install it, it gives you a series of different options. So you can convert your families to Formit families. So that's what I mentioned earlier, that you can bring your Revit families into Formit. You can also convert SketchUp into Formit if you want as well. And you can import Formit into Revit as well. So that's what I'm going to do here. I'm just going to import my Formit file. I'm going to navigate to where my file is saved. So here's one I created earlier or last night, and I'm just going to open that up. So it's an AXM file, and basically that just brings it in as it's dumb geometry, almost just still geometry, and it just brings it in as a mass, and we can see as a floor plan. I had actually created the adjacent building as well, and here's our building here. So it's just placed that just on my level there. So I'm just going to jump into a 3D view. So once I jump into a 3D view, most of you already know that mass is always turned off by default within standard Revit template. So I'm just going to turn mass on. Just hit apply. Obviously you can change this in your project template or company template. And here are my two buildings here. So this is a neighboring building I just modeled for I suppose for shadow purposes and seeing what the impact of it is. And this is my building here that I want to turn into a mass that I've exported from Formit earlier on. So I'm just going to go to my wall tab under architecture, just use my wall tool. I'm going to go to wall by face. So what I want to do here is just convert that mass into an actual intelligent wall. So I'm going to select wall, and then we've got a number of different options here. I'm not going to go into those in detail. So I'm just going to select whatever the first wall is that comes up. I'm going to select that, and then it's going to allow me to select each face, and it's going to ask me where I want to place it, give you a series of different options up here. I'm just going to leave it at level, or leave it at automatic for the moment. So I'm just going to select my front face, and you can see as I do that, it's converting all of those mass objects or those single dimension objects into walls. So I'm just going to keep doing that for all my walls, and I'm going to do the same for my roof as well. So similar process, just go to your roof, go to roof by face, and I'm just going to, if it doesn't click into it, you can just use your tab key, but you can see there it's snapped into my Formit group. Just going to click into that, and I'm just going to go create roof. Now obviously you can select what different types of roof you want here. So it's a pitched roof, it is a mono pitch roof, so I'm going to stay with that one. Just going to go create roof. That's placed my roof there. Now I will go back and tidy all of this up afterwards. And again, just looking at doing the similar process to place your floor. So I want to place 2 floors. Again, floor tool, and use your floor by face, and then whatever particular floor build-up that you want to change in that. So I'm just going to select my ground floor, and I'm going to select my intermediary floor as well. And I'm going to set an offset to those because I know my wall thickness is about 300. So I'm going to put a minus 300 into that. I'm just going to go create floors. Sorry, that went the wrong way. I'm just going to select those again, and I'm going to offset those by 300, not minus. Hit create floor, and the floor will have offset in there. I'm just going to cut a section box just to show you what that looks like internally. So I'm just going to delete my mass, I can actually hide it. I'm just going to use EH to hide it, and you can see there within a matter of minutes we've already been able to create floors. I'm just going to hide that as well. Hide any of my masks. You can keep this in the background if you want, and then I'm going to attach all of my walls to my roof. Just going to select the walls using the tab key. It'll take all 4 of them in. Just going to tap that into there. Unjoin elements, and that's connected all my elements to my roof. And then for my other walls, I'm just going to put an offset, a base offset onto those as well, just so they come below the ground. -350. Hit apply, and you can see within a matter of minutes you've got almost a building with wall construction if that's what you want. Obviously you can switch between different settings of your walls as well. You can change it. It is early stage design, so I'm just going to change it to coarse as well, and you can see we've got a fairly basic section coming through there. I'm just going to tidy up this wall at the end as well. Just going to attach that to my top wall. Let's tidy it up there. So what I'm going to do, I just want to place some simple windows in that just to kind of get a floor plan up and running. I'm just going to go into my level 0. Just going to WN for window, but I'm not going to change the size of these windows at all. I'm just going to place them randomly here. And all we want to do is just get an early stage idea of what a building might, potentially look like at a concept stage. We're not too worried about the major detail just yet. We'll cover that as the design progresses. Just going to flip those around. So we've got a basic floor plan there. I'm just going to turn the detail level down to coarse. We only want to see the wall thickness. We don't want to see anything else really. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to place a room tag in that. I'm just going to go up to my annotate tab. My architecture tab. Just going to use my room tag, and I'm just going to place a room object in there. And what this is going to do, it's going to give me the output of an overall floor area for that basic floor plan without any intermediary walls or anything in that as well. So then I can place a room tag on that, and that's going to bring up the numbers that are already within that room placement that I already placed. So there we've got a basic floor plan. So something that I used in these previous models, so in order to get this kind of sketchy conceptual look with the extended lines and stuff like that, I did it in a similar process. So what I did, I went into my 3D view, go into my default 3D view, and you can see the mass is still there. I'm just going to turn off my mass, turn off that EH, and you can see windows are looking fairly small, so I'm going to make them a bit bigger. Just going to select them. It's going to go into edit type. Going to change the rough width of them. I'm going to make them 2.5 meters. I'm going to make 3.5 meters high. Just going to click apply. I'm just going to change that, multiplied by 3 meters, 3.5 meters. Just going to click OK on those, and you can see that we've got some basic windows. Just going to set the windowsill down to 0 as well for those. I'll set it for them all. And you can see how this design is slowly progressing. Now I won't go and place all the other windows. You kind of get the gist of the idea. Place those at 0. But what I'm going to do is going to change some view settings here. So I'm going to use, on your left hand side, when you're in any sort of view, 2D or 3D, you're able to go into your view settings and you're able to use either view templates, which are very handy to do. It's good to get familiar with them, but you're able to go into other settings as well. So I'm just going to jump into my other 3D view that I created these in already. So into my bird's eye view, and you can see I've placed some trees as well. These are just components taken from the Revit proprietary library as well. And then I've applied certain settings to my graphic display already. So using graphic display options, or if you just type in GD, if you edit these options here, so change it to shaded, turn on ambient shadows, you can see that as you do, it kind of really gives a lot of depth to your design. And then turn on sketchy lines, which if something you want to achieve, you can turn them off if you want, just have straight lines, but you can then manipulate certain how far that line is extended past. But one of my favorite ones is the lighting. So once you have ambient shadows turned on, usually by default ambient light is all the way down, but if you turn ambient shadows up, bring up your shadows as well, hit apply, it brings a lot of depth to your design. And then what I've done with this, I've saved this out as a view template, either architectural elevation, or you can name it something else, and then you can apply this to the rest of your drawings as well. So you could apply this to this 3D file as well, or the 3D view as well, which I've just taken a view of, and then I've created a cut section of the floor as well with a similar kind of finish on it as well. So I'm just going to show you the rest of the drawings, and then I'm going to hand back over to Sean to do some BIM 360. And then you can just see in the elevations as well, I used, this is...
Is it right 2018 or is that always in...
as far as I'm not sure.
Oh, that's right.
So just going to show you, I've applied the similar style to these and the extended lines as well to my elevations, kind of give that sketchy look or that hand-drawn look. And I've just created elevations and I've applied just a background gradient to those as well to kind of just give it an early stage. Because I've spent, you know, CAD days drawing gradients for as sky backgrounds as well. But you can completely do this just by using one design template within here. And you can see here I have architectural template, and I've just applied this across my whole project as well. So one way of bringing efficiencies to your presentations as well. So I'm just going to hand over to Sean now, that's going to run through some BIM 360.
Yep. So what Jonathan there, just before he saves there, he can save that there to the cloud project that we've set up on Docs. So just go File, Save As, Cloud Model, and it's just because that's a local model, it's not coming up as a cloud model option because he's saved onto his local drive. So what he's done previous to this is he's saved it up there onto the cloud model. Let's go up to the top here and take back the...
Yeah, let's stop sharing.
Memory presenter again. Yeah. Yeah. So you can see my screen here again. So with this now, as say on a project there, I've been invited onto the BIM 360 project where I'm going to get notifications that the file has been uploaded for me to review. So it's inside here in the work in progress area under the architect. So the Infraworks model, as it's versioning throughout the phase of the project, as we move up to version 6. I can revert back to any of those versions if needs be because they're fully version controlled. I know from viewing the interface that there is issues on it and that there has been markups on it. But to view then what Jonathan has uploaded onto the interface, it's the Revit model. So same as what it was with the Infraworks model. I'm able to open up that Revit file and zoom in and out wherever needs be. I can actually start doing the first person walkthrough and start navigating through the model again. So this kind of is where you can start to interrogate the concept and get a very good understanding of what has been proposed. You can also, if there are 2D drawings placed in this, you can just click here. So you can see exactly what, you can see exactly what has been part of the proposal. I'll just close a minute. Also, you can actually get a very good understanding of the area. So this is something like the quantity surveyor working on behalf of the client or who has been brought on to keep an eye on the project. They can get an updated view of the quantities on this. Another thing is that Jonathan didn't have to export out any PDFs off his Revit model. Once he uploaded that Revit model onto the BIM 360 interface with kind of published settings, so you can decide who can view. If you had 20 working drawings on your Revit model, but you only wanted to publish 3 of those drawings to the Docs, you can set that on Revit. So when you upload that Revit model to Docs, you don't have to delete the remaining 7 or 17 drawings that you don't want to be shared amongst the design team. So this is drawings that he has published through Revit, and you can navigate in and out of these. You can also start taking dimensions and creating markups. So I can create a markup on this to say, can a window be added here? So just more cloud, select here, put in text, say can window I can adjust this then to suit the context of the drawing, and I can keep this to myself, or I can publish it so that everyone can see that in the platform. So as soon as I click that and click done, that markup has been added to the platform, and it's here. Also, as you open up here, you can see that it's saying that the file has markups. Another thing now is that this has been at concept stage, and I want to issue this to the client or the client's representative for a review. So if I select this model, all I do is click on the more actions and go submit for review. So I'm going to click the client approval and say I'm going to be issuing this file, and this notice, can you review this for concepts? Go submit. It's saying that as part of the review process, it's saying that there's 2 days. This can all be customized. It's saying I'm the reviewer. I can add other custom reviewers if needs be, and then just go send. So what this will happen is this is going to end up in the review section here of Docs. So I'll get an email and it'll tell me that there's been a review submitted to you, because it's saying it's been initiated by me, and the next action is by myself. So I click it and I go to start my review. So I can click on the model here, and the exact same way as what it was with the viewing of the files, I can zoom in, zoom out, check dimensions. So I can check the dimension here. Sorry, that's in feet. I can change the sentence there. Sorry. Millimeters. And you can see there that that is 15 meters. And then if you can view the sheets or the drawings that have been embedded on that. So I can say, yeah, this is okay as discussed. And then I can assign, I hit post that, and I can assign then so I can approve this drawing. And then if I close this, so it's saying here now that the drawing has been approved, or the model has been approved, and I can go submit review. So this is saying review complete. And just go submit. This can also be customized, that as soon as I click on approved and submit the review, it'll copy it into another relevant folder. So it's more or less going to transition away through the course of the project. So if I go to my folders tab here again, and I go into the architect section, you'll see here that there's a tick on that model to say that it has been approved. And then if I had it copied, it'll progress then into the coordination. So this will, as we go through these series of webinars, you'll see that the model is it'll progress from the work in progress into shared, and published then is mostly going to be where the construction model there, where all the room data sheets, and then archived will be like an as-built asset information model where we'll have data populated into the model. You know, and this is the environment where it can be opened up on any device, be it a phone, a tablet, a laptop, or it's not localized to iOS. It's open up on Android, Apple iOS, or Windows devices. So that's more. So what we're saying is on the next stage of our let's go play slides. I'll just go through here. So on the next webinar, we'll be going through the more developed design, where we'll start incorporating in the likes of the structural model and an M&E model into this, and we'll start running clash detection in Navisworks. We also show a bit of it in a bit of BIM 60 glue. We'll start working with creating a federated model and starting to raise issues against that, and then we'll show virtual reality, and then start working off creating room data sheets off the models too as well. There'll be a bit of BIM 360 design as well, which is like more collaboration, and we'll showcase that. So just more to make people aware that this software is currently all available in the AEC collection. The only thing that's not available is the BIM 360 docs, and we can if there's any questions, we can showcase more on that. But it'll all be advanced, more or less, demos of it as the series of events progress. Yep. So if you have any questions or anything like that, feel free to send either myself or Jonathan an email, or you can give us a call. There's no problem. We'd be delighted to have a discussion with you on any questions on this.
And if anybody has specific questions or requirements, we're happy to do an online demo, particular to your company or particular for your type of work as well. So feel free to contact us.
And thanks again for taking your time to listen in on the webinar.
Thank you, everybody. And if there's any questions, forward them through there as well in the message box. We'll be here for another few minutes.
Yeah, we can stay on for the next 10 minutes if you want to send a few messages. Perfect.